Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video, and today we're going to do some voting. NBA All-Star voting officially opened a couple of days ago, and I thought it'd be fun to go ahead and make a video where I give you who my current 12 All-Stars are in each conference as of December 21st. So if you're coming back to this video later on, and you're like, what is he talking about? Why did he not talk about this player? I'm just going off the information I have now, and with the information I have right now, this is going to be really difficult. I tried to do some prep for this video and kind of plan out who I was going to go with, but it wasn't working. When it gets to the bench players in particular, it gets impossible to split hairs between some of these guys. The league feels deeper than ever. I'm a proponent of expanding the All-Star rosters to 15 players rather than 12, but for now that's not the case, so we're going to have to go ahead and make some hard cuts, which means there are going to be snubs. So let me know down below in the comments who I snubbed. I'm sure I'm going to snub a lot of your favorite players, and tell me exactly why I'm wrong. Also, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Let's go ahead and talk about some All-Stars. Also, I'll probably make another one of these videos when we get like right up to the All-Star break, when they're about to officially announce the players, so we can talk more about what it actually is going to look like when we get a couple more months into the season, because I know things change a lot. So, let's start off in the Western Conference. I think the backcourt starters are pretty easy. Honestly, all the starters in the West feel pretty easy to me. In the backcourt, I think it's got to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic. Because of popularity voting, you know, the fan vote plays a lot into this. I don't know if Shai is going to be a starter, but just strictly going off how the players have played so far and not taking into account, like, trying to predict the fan vote or anything, for me, my starters are Shai and Luka. They've both been top 5 MVP candidates this season. They've got their teams way up there in the Western Conference standings, and they've been playing some of the best basketball in the world. To me, they have to be the starters as the Western Conference guards, and when we move into the front court, I also think it's pretty easy. I think it's Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, and LeBron James. They've been the top front court guys, if you ask me, so far. I think KD and Jokic in particular are locks. LeBron, maybe Kawhi Leonard will sneak in there because he's been playing out of his mind recently. You know, Anthony Davis has been great, and there are a couple more front court guys that maybe could find their way in here, but I do believe also with the popularity vote that James will be one of the starters, and at this point, he's deserving of it. He's played up to that level. He's been the best and most consistent player for the Lakers so far. You know, Jokic is a top MVP candidate too. Durant's been amazing. These five, to me, feel pretty comfortably as the starters in the Western Conference. Now let's go over to the Eastern Conference. We'll start with the front court because this also feels very easy. I think as long as Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jayson Tatum are in the Eastern Conference, they are going to be the starters. It's going to be hard to get past these three guys. They've both been on a mission this season. Embiid looks like the MVP at the moment. He's averaging more points per game than minutes, which would only be the second time it's ever happened, going back to Wilt Chamberlain. And anytime you're mentioned with Wilt, that's pretty good company to have. Giannis has also been one of the top MVP candidates. Jayson Tatum is the best player and the best team in the league. They are pretty comfortably the top three guys in the front court, if you ask me. Moving now into the backcourt is where things get a little more tricky. I think one guy who has to be in here, if we scroll down a little bit, is Tyrese Haliburton. With the way he's been playing so far, carrying the Pacers, has them as a historically great offense. He has been on a bit of a downturn recently, and the Pacers themselves have been losing some more games, so maybe by the time the break rolls around, he isn't like a confirmed starter, but as of right now, I think he should be. And then it gets tough because there are a lot of great guards. I mean, we look at Trae Young averaging 28 and 11 now, Donovan Mitchell averaging 27, 5 and 5, what Dame has been doing, what Maxey's been doing on the Sixers, who are defying expectations. Brunson's been great. LaMelo Ball would probably be in this conversation if he didn't get injured. So it's tough, but I think I am going to go with Damian Lillard as the second starter. He's been turning it up recently. The Bucks are the second seed in the East, really close to the Celtics for the 1 seed, and he's really found his footing after a slow start to the season. Dame looks like the Dame of old. So these are my starters in the NBA at the moment. We've got Shai and Luka over here in the West backcourt, Durant, Jokic, and LeBron, and then Tyrese, Damian Lillard, Tyrese Haliburton, that is, because there's two really good Tyreses in the East. You've got Joel Embiid, Giannis, and Jayson Tatum. I feel pretty comfortable with these picks, but when we get to the bench, it's going to be a lot more difficult. So let's go ahead and talk bench. Let's start off in the Western Conference backcourt again. John Morant is a player that I don't think will make the All-Star game because, I mean, he was great in his first game, but he missed the first 25 games of the season. It's going to be difficult. So moving down past Shai and Luka, who of course we picked as our starters, there's De'Aaron Fox, there's Steph Curry, there's Devin Booker, and there's Anthony Edwards. These are the four guards, if you ask me, that are kind of in the conversation. The rest of them are playing pretty well. They're decent. They're on good teams, but I don't think any of them have that combination to match with those top guys. James Harden's a player who's been fantastic as of late, but he's not putting up the numbers to make it a conversation with these top guys. If you ask me, I think De'Aaron Fox has to be on here. He's been amazing, the best player in the Kings so far, averaging over 30 points per game. Very underrated by most casual fans, one of the most clutch players in the league, trying to win a second straight Clutch Player of the Year award. I think he's got a pretty good chance. He's been amazing. And then we get to Steph Curry, Devin Booker. I think these two right now are a little bit above Anthony Edwards. Edwards has the team success with the way the Wolves are playing, but he just doesn't have the numbers that some of these guys have. We'll talk about Anthony Edwards more when we get to the wild card section of the video, but for right now as the second guard, I think I'm going to lean Devin Booker. I know he's got Kevin Durant on his team, but just the way he's been playing so far, the Warriors have been worse than the Suns have been so far this season. I'm going to go with D-Book. Steph will probably be a starter because of the fan vote, but for right now, I think I've got him falling to the wild card round, and we'll talk about that in a moment. You could very well go with Steph as well over Devin Booker. I've gone back and forth between these two guys, but we'll go with Booker for the moment, and now we'll go over to the front court, where I think there are a couple of locks. Kawhi Leonard has to be a lock with the way that he's been playing so far, been one of the most efficient players in the league, and the Clippers are on an absolute roll, currently going into OKC tonight as I'm recording this with a 9-game win streak. And Anthony Davis, as shaky as he is offensively at times, one of the best defenders in the world, and the offense is enough to get him 25 points per game or 24 points per game. He's been incredible overall on the season, even if there are some inconsistencies. So these two guys are locks if you ask me, but last spot is a little bit tricky. We've got, the Pelicans guys, Ingram and Zion. The Pelicans are playing pretty well too. You've got Paul George, who's been pretty good. Lowry's been good, even though he's on a bad team. You've got Karl Anthony Towns as well, as if we go down here a little bit. Where is he at? Rudy Gobert, who's been probably the depoy so far, in my opinion, both on the one-seeded Timberwolves. Chet Holmgren, as a Thunder fan, I want to put him on here. Domantas Sabonis has been so great too. Alperen Sengun is the best player in the Rockets. Like, there are so many guys you could go with for this final front court spot, but I think I'm going to go with Cat. He's 0.1% away on his free throws from being a 50, 40, 90 player, averaging 22 points per game, 10 rebounds, been holding his own defensively, and he is on the best team in the West so far. So I think I've got to go ahead and give him the nod here in this spot. Again, there are a lot of players you could go with, and Gobert is also really interesting because of the defensive impact. But I think what Cat is providing offensively, and again, being nearly 50, 40, 90, I'm going to go with him for this spot. So these are the backups in the Western Conference. We go over now to the Eastern Conference. We had Trae Young, we had Dame and Tyrese as our starters. I think Trae Young has to be on here. I think he has to. Even though the Hawks have not been great, they've won, I think, 2 games in a row now, or at least they're getting a couple more wins here and there. Trae's been up 28 and 11. He's been really efficient. He's been stepping it up defensively. Not a great defender, but better than he's been in the past. And then it's tough. It's between, there's Donovan, there's Tyrese and Brunson. There's all these great guards. I don't know, because the Cavs have been dealing with a bunch of injuries, but they're still staying afloat because largely of Donovan Mitchell. Brunson's been fantastic, though. Tyrese Maxey is playing with the MVP, which makes things a little bit shaky, but he's been so good. I think I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell for the moment. We'll talk about Brunson and Maxey when we get to the wild cards here in a moment, but I think I am going to go with these two guys for now. Okay, let's move on now to the front court, which again, it gets really difficult. I don't really have any locks in this Eastern Conference front court. One guy that I think should and probably will be on here is Bam Adebayo. He just missed a bunch of games, which is something you can definitely take into account. But overall, with the way he's been playing so far, and he hasn't missed that much time, Bam's been the Heat's best player up to this point. He's been one of the league's best defenders. He's a lot more aggressive. I think Bam has to be on here as one of my guys. Randall, I want to put on here because he's really turned it up since the start of the season, but I don't know. It's tough competition because there's him, there's Jimmy Butler, who you can talk about too. You've got Pascal Siakam, who's been great even though he's on kind of a bad team. Same thing with Scotty Barnes. Paolo Banchero has been the best player on a Magic team that's shocking the world at the moment. Kristaps Porzingis, you have Jaylen Brown, who I think I skipped over a little bit earlier. You had JB up there. It's really tough. There's nobody else really down here, but just scrolling down a little bit to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Yeah, we're definitely not missing anybody down there. Okay, I think, I'm going to stick with Bam Adebayo. I think I'm going to go with Paolo. The Magic have been really good so far. He's putting up similar numbers to a guy like Scotty Barnes, so I'm also really debating here. But I think I'm going to lean Paolo, and I feel like the Celtics should have a second guy. It should either be Jaylen Brown or Kristaps Porzingis. I've gone back and forth between who it should be. See, JB's putting up 22, 3.7, and 4.8. The efficiency's down a little bit from last year. KP's putting up kind of similar stats, but he's blocking more shots. I think I'm going to go with Kristaps because of the defensive impact. You see what he's not out there, how much the team really misses him. You could go either way, but I do think the Celtics are deserving of a second All-Star. So I'm going to go with Kristaps Porzingis, but this hurts because, we'll get to the wild cards, but there's a chance that we don't see, a Scotty Barnes on this, like a Siakam. Jimmy Butler might not be on here. Julius Randle, Jaylen Brown. It's so stacked. I don't really know. So these are my current picks at the moment for the bench guys, and that only leaves 2 players for the wildcard section. So let's go ahead and start with Western Conference wildcard first. Steph Curry obviously is going to be on here. I haven't picked him up to this point. He probably will be the starter in the Western Conference. but he has to be on this team 100%. As bad as the Warriors have been, Steph has still been phenomenal. And then it's between the last few guys. Anthony Edwards is probably the favorite here as I'm scrolling down. But there are some other good players like a Brandon Ingram, a Zion. You know, we talk about Rudy Gobert as well. Alperen Şengün, Chet Holmgren. Domantas Sabonis is a guy that really hurts me to not put on this list. But I think I am going to go with Anthony Edwards. He's been great so far for the Wolves, arguably their best player on a lot of nights. I've been the biggest factor for them offensively. He's really good. He's their rising top player. They're the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. I think they're deserving of 2 guys. So I'm going to give it to Anthony Edwards, and that wraps up our Western Conference All-Stars. Again, some snubs. You could talk about Desmond Bane, Paul George, Brandon Ingram, Kyrie Irving, I guess, Zion, Şengün, Chet, Domantas Sabonis. Like, there's a lot of players that feel like massive snubs, but again, there's only 12 players you can have on a team. And then in the Eastern Conference, again, I think I'm probably going to go with 2 guards. We haven't picked Tyrese Maxey yet. I think he has to be an all-star, putting up 26 points per game on one of the top seed teams in the East. There's a chance he gets that bench spot rather than a reserve spot, but again, it's splitting hairs with a lot of these guards, and it really doesn't matter where you end up. If you're on the roster, you're on the roster. There will probably also be a couple of injury replacements here and there, so more guys could make it in on this list from my snubs list. And then I've got to put Jalen Brunson on there. With the way the Knicks are playing so far, he's been their best player. I think JB is deserving of a spot, which means, you know, no Jaylen Brown on this list, which is crazy to me. No Julius Randle on this team. No Jimmy Butler. No Pascal Siakam. No Scotty Barnes. That one hurts maybe the most because Scotty's been so good this season. Maybe he should be on over Paolo. But these 2 guys are really close for me, and with Paolo just having the better record at the moment, and Scotty does have a guy like Pascal Siakam. Paolo does have, of course, like a Franz Wagner who's been pretty good too, but I think I've got a slightly lean Paolo for that front court spot. There's just not enough spots on the All-Star team. I said it earlier, I think it should be up to 15 spots. But yeah, I think those are my All-Star picks. Yeah, so going ahead and wrapping up my wildcard spots, I've got Steph Curry, I've got Anthony Edwards, I've got Tyrese Maxey, and I've got Jalen Brunson. So those are my All-Star picks. I went ahead and put them together here so you could see as my starters: Shai, Luka, Durant, Jokic, and LeBron, Damian Lillard, Tyrese Haliburton, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jayson Tatum. If you go over to the backup players, I've got Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, De'Aaron Fox, and Devin Booker, Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, Paolo Banchero, Kristaps Porzingis, and Bam Adebayo in the Eastern Conference. And then finally, my last 2 guys on each team are Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Maxey, and Jalen Brunson. A lot of snubs on this list. I hope I made decent picks. In your eyes, at the very least, let me know what things you would have changed if you would have put someone else as a starter, someone as a bench player as opposed to a wild card. Love to hear all your thoughts as usual. And like I said earlier in the video, I believe, if there are any players you think that I really didn't talk about too much that could sneak into that all-star race, let me know down below in the comments. Yeah, I appreciate y'all watching as always. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. I will see y'all later. Real one say back.